Hello. Just confirm. It's just audible to everyone and you can see the screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. We will just wait for 2-3 minutes and I will begin.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, let's begin. So last day, we have done Uno and Stackelberg for oligopoly. So first I will ask you, we all know about chocolate shop. Okay. So here, two identical shops sell the same chocolate bar. Okay. So if one sets price ₹50 and suppose the other sets ₹49, who will get the customer? It's very easy that it will be 49 one, correct? The lower one. We know no one wants to purchase the thing at a slightly higher price also. That's why elastic inelastic. So what happens if both keep lowering? Then it leads to Bertrand paradox. Bertrand we will be doing today. Okay. Now, another concept, airplane seat puzzle. How it goes? Yeah, you're correct. That is also related to your economics theory. Airplane seat puzzle. So how it is? Let us know. So here, imagine two airlines flying the same route, okay, with the same cost per seat. Now both planes, suppose, have 180 seats, okay, but demand is for 250 passengers. Now what we will do in this case, if suppose both set the same high price, Okay, then what happens? Or if this is not the situation, suppose if one undercuts slightly, but only has 186, then what happens to the leftover passengers? This we will be learning in the form of H words, capacity, constraint, logic. This is what Edgeworth will help us to know. Now, Chamberlain is there. What is that? So to go with the example, cement companies, if I talk about, cement companies in a city never talk to each other. So yet, strangely, all of them keep their back price. No one is talking, but each one of them or all of them keeping their back price at rupees 400. Okay. So why, the question might come to us that why do they not compete harder? Or is this a coincidence? Is this coincidence? Or something deeper? That we have to understand. So there we will have a Chamberlain's tacit collusion. Okay. Smartphone, we all use smartphone, very important to us. Now there is a rivalry. So if I talk with you about the smartphone rivalry, suppose say two strong brands we are taking, Apple and Samsung, correct? Now they release a new model at the same time. Okay, if they compete on price, okay, then what will be the outcome? What will be the outcome? Or if they instead recognize each other's interdependence. If they recognize, then what happens? So here, students, you can see the difference between what I will be explaining you, Bertrand versus Chamberlain outcome. This is the scenario to understand. Okay. So you have already done Kundo and Stackelberg. There are certain models which are Bertrand, Edgeworth, Chamberlain, and King demand curve, price leadership model, collusive oligopoly. So let's start with the Bertrand duopoly model. Bertrand's duopoly. So what is that? So here, Bertrand, it was introduced by Joseph Bertrand. And year was 1883. Why? As a critic of Cournot's quantity based duopoly. Simultaneously couldn't know when. So as a criticism to that or critic to that, Bertrand was being introduced. Okay. So Kunna assumed that firms compete by choosing output levels. Okay. So here how they choose output levels. But Bertrand argued, and what was being stated, that in many industries, price is the actual strategic choice. Correct. And not quantity. So core question, if I ask, then it is what? That if two firms sell identical products, two firms are selling identical products, and if they compete by setting prices, what will be the outcome? Correct. In this way, we have to think. Two firms are selling identical products and competing by setting price. Then what will be the outcome? So Bertrand insight was striking. Even it is with only two firms. So we'll be doing the assumption now. So it is with two firms. Competition can drive prices all the way down to marginal cost. Replicating, if you remember again, perfect competition, correct? So assumptions are there. Let's do with the assumptions. What are the assumptions? The classic Bertrand model, and the assumption goes, there are two firms. Okay, so it's duopoly. Only two firms in the market. First. Second, homogeneous product. Homogeneous product was for perfect competition. So each firm, and they are selling the firm's identical product. So we can say the good is identical across firms. Okay. So consumers will only care about what? I told that this firm is based on price. Correct. Next, identical cost. So each firm has the same constant marginal cost, and there is no fixed cost. Complicating decisions. Next, unlimited capacity. Unlimited capacity. What can be? So it's a question to you. What do we mean by unlimited capacity then here? Yes, you can unmute yourself and tell me what do we mean by unlimited capacity? So we were doing with the features of oligopoly. So we were explaining the assumptions. Then unlimited capacity means what? Each firm is able to supply the entire market if necessary. Okay. Next, price setting behavior. So as we understand that obviously that this market is based on the price. So here firms simultaneously choose their price. Okay, not quantity. Correct? Next, conjectural variation. What does that mean? Conjectural variation is zero. That means each firm assumes the rival's price will remain unchanged. Okay, regardless of its own decision. Regardless of its own decision. Next, consumer behavior. So consumer behavior will be then what? Obviously, it's related to price, and what we have learned since now, all consumers buy from the firm charging the lower price. And if both firms charge the same price, they split the market equally. Okay, so how it goes? Price undercutting dynamics. This way we have to remember. Suppose the mechanism goes like this. Suppose firm A charges the monopoly price initially first. Okay. Now firm B, two firms. So firm B realizes it can slightly undercut with the motive. It can slightly undercut. Firm A's price. And obviously, if it reduces the price, it has a propensity to capture the entire market demand. Correct? So, firm A, by retaliating or lowering the price, further reclaims the market. So, this cycle of undercutting will continue till when? It will continue the position where price is equal to marginal cost. Okay, and at this point, neither firm can reduce price without incurring a loss. Clear? So this process, in this way, the process of price competition naturally, obviously, it will lead to what? Automatically drives the price down to cost. Okay. So in equilibrium, PA will be equal to PB, and that will be equal to MC. That means what? From this we understand neither firm can profitably deviate. Okay. So if one, now the situation we have to understand, suppose if one raises its price, okay, then it loses the whole market. Very common. And at this point, if one suppose lowers the price, then obviously it incurs, and it incurs a loss when? If the price is below marginal cost, then it will incur a loss. Okay. So market output is equivalent to perfectly, which I have told you in the initial only, competitive output. Okay. And what are the profits? Profits are equal to 0. Profits are equal to 0. And that is for both firms. Okay. So this is what we call as Bertrand-Nash equilibrium. Okay. So Bertrand paradox, if I say, it goes Bertrand paradox. Two firms are enough to produce the perfectly competitive outcome. So it's a highly counterintuitive result. Correct? Counterintuitive result. Okay. So if I talk, okay, so now last day you have done Kurno. Now I'm giving a question and I need an answer. Just try. Okay, I will tell you. What is the relation with Kurno then here? What we can tell? What was Kurno telling us?
It was telling us about quantity.
It was telling us about quantity. So equilibrium was, it was like with simultaneous move. Correct? About Kurno. So equilibrium price have a marginal cost. Correct? And firms were earning profit. Were they earning?
Yes.
Yes, they were earning. So it was a positive profit. And what about Bertrand? What we did today? Equilibrium price is equal to marginal cost. Correct. So firms earn zero profit. Firms earn zero profit. Okay. So here, what we can understand is that competition is much fiercer firms when they compete the firms in price rather than quantity, which we studied today. Okay. So here, there is criticism. Here is also criticism. What are the criticism? Let's study it. So the criticism goes, the Bertrand outcome is often considered too extreme. Because why? Of its, the assumption which we did, of its restrictive assumptions. That's why it's often considered too extreme. So then, capacity constraints. Capacity constraints. That means, in reality, firms cannot produce, by the name only we can understand, they cannot produce unlimited output, correct? Nobody can produce in reality. So if we relax, so relaxing this assumption, it leads to what we'll be doing today, Edgeworth duopoly model. And where, as I gave you the example in the initial, price may not settle at marginal cost. May not settle at marginal cost. Okay. Next, product differentiation. Product differentiation means if goods are not perfectly identical, if goods are not perfectly identical, competition softens. Correct? That we all know. So, the Bertrand model is with differentiated productivities. So, we are economists, correct? So, we have to think from every perspective. Question should be everywhere in our mind that why this is happening, and we should answer those. With differentiated products, predicts higher price. Obvious. Differentiated products, it's very easy, more than enough, because we can do the change in any way. And positive profits also, which we discussed. Third one is pollution or tacit coordination. So it's pollution or tacit coordination. That means firms often avoid pure price war. So by colluding, that also is there. Okay, different types of model are there. Let's see how much we can finish. Either explicitly or tacitly. Okay, as in that we will be doing Chamberlain's model. Why I am giving you? Because while you will be answering, you just remember this, that why we did that model. So that is this reason. Okay, some for pollution, some for product differentiation. That's what model of monopolistic competition, differentiated product, and obviously empirical reality is there. So what do I mean by that? Empirical reality. If Very few world, real world duopoly end up at the equilibrium, that is price is equal to marginal cost. Instead, what happens? Firms usually find ways, okay? Firm usually find ways to sustain price above cost. Okay. So here, what is the significance from the Bertrand model we did? That the Bertrand model is a benchmark case which demonstrates the extreme competitive pressure of price setting, okay, in homogeneous good market. And if we go with the things which we learned today for Bertrand, that firms often seek product differentiation, okay, that is branding, quality, which we already know how the product differentiation goes, correct? And firms may use capacity limits. Firms may use capacity limits or contracts. Why? Obviously, to avoid cutthroat pricing. And what did we learn? We didn't learn. What are the points which I gave? Pollution and cartel formation, correct? Pollution or cartel formation. Okay? Which are, made in oligopoly. There is also a separate model. Okay, we will do that. Okay, so Bertrand model shows that when the price is strategic, variable, and products are identical, even two firms can create an outcome really equivalent to perfect competition. However, because its assumptions are highly restrictive, economics develop refinements. Okay. Next, we will go for, let's do one question on the basis of this. So the question goes, consider a market with inverse demand function. Correct? So consider a market with an inverse demand function, and that is PQ is equals to A minus BQ. Okay, and A, B are greater than 0, suppose. Okay, if anyone is facing any problem, do tell. So here Q is what? We did Q will be how many firms? 2 firms, Q1 plus Q2. So here 2 firms, firm 1 and firm 2 produce a homogeneous good. Okay, homogeneous good, correct? And with constant marginal cost. Okay, we should be well versed with the assumptions. Okay, where it's 0, C, and I have taken A. So it is like this. Now, suppose both firms set prices simultaneously. Okay, so it's a Bertrand. So each firm can serve the entire market. Okay, if its price is strictly lower. Very usual. If it is prices, it can easily go. Why I will buy with more price? I will buy with less price. So if prices are equal, what they will do? They will split the demand equally. That is also obvious. One cannot give the supply of full. So what you have to do, this is my question, you have to show that the only Nash equilibrium is P1 star is equal to P2 star is equal to C. Okay? And you have to prove that each firm's equilibrium price is profit, not price, profit is 0. Okay? Each firm's equilibrium profit is 0. Okay? And this is one question. Okay. Another question also you can do for this. Suppose instead firm 1 has a cost advantage. Suppose, okay, that is C1 is less than C2. So we can derive the Bertrand equilibrium. How? I told you P1 star and P2 star, correct? P1 star and P2 star. And obviously, we are economists and we need profit. So corresponding profits for each firm. Okay. So how we can start with the answer? Okay, just tell me one thing that I did with the Bertrand model. I hope the thing is clear, or you are having any question. Now I have not asked any question that you have to answer. Just unmute yourself and tell me any question about the Bertrand model.
No, ma'am.
Okay. What about others? Ayushi, Vishal, I can see the names. Any problem?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So let's do with the sum. So here the question is given. So what we know, the Bertrand is with a linear demand. So PQ is equals to A minus BQ. Okay. So here two firms and they are selling homogeneous good and unlimited capacity. As we do, we have to go with the assumptions. And cost is marginal cost. Okay. And there is no fixed cost. There is no fixed cost. So it's between 0, C and A. Okay. And simultaneous price choice is there. So lower price captures the whole market. So then we split the demand equally. That is common. So the market demand at price P is what? Q of P is equals to A minus P by B. Okay. Now I have to find out symmetric cost. Then what is that? So here, for the symmetric cost, the answer goes, price is there, A minus BQ. Let me see the question. Symmetric cost. Okay. So here, C1 is equal to C2 we will take. So C1 is equal to C2 is equal to C. So we have to show that P1 is equal to C and profit is what? Profit is 0. Okay. So P1 equal to C is the Nash equilibrium here. Okay. So suppose how we will do the proof, just see it. We will set both P is equal to C. That means each firm per unit margin P minus C is equal to 0. Whatever, that means what? We have to understand everything, correct? Whatever quantity it sells, profit is 0. We have already done that. That is one point. Second, unilateral deviation. What is that unilateral deviation? Unilateral deviation means P is less than C means the deviator captures the market but earns a negative margin. So P minus C is less than 0. So profit becomes negative. It's not profitable. Okay. And if I talk about the opposite also, because there can be several situations. So unilateral deviation to P greater than C. That means what? The rival remains at P equal to C. And why? Because here the products are what? They are identical. So the products are identical and they capture the entire market. Okay. So the deviator sells 0 and earns profit, which is 0, not profitable. Okay. So if hence there is no profitable deviation exists from P equal to C, as we proved. So here what you can write is that conversely, any profile, okay, with the price greater than C is, we have already proved, is not an equilibrium. Why? Because the firm which is with the higher price can be undercut. The firm which is having a higher price, obviously we can undercut that, the one who sells at a lower price, and that is by the rival. Why? To capture the market at any price. Okay, by the rival. So here we can say that it is representing C. Set notation if I write that higher price, okay, which will yield positive profit. So at least one firm has a profitable deviation. One firm has a profitable deviation. Okay. So therefore, P1 is equal to P2 is equal to C is the only Nash equilibrium. Okay. This is one. Next goes for, so here just write it down that profits at equilibrium will be what? At P equal to C, profit of each firm is P minus C multiplied by its sales. Okay, that is 0. So then profit is equal to 0. This is one. And next, if I go for asymmetric cost. So what is asymmetric cost? Here, it depends on the tie-breaking rule. Tie-breaking rule means what? Efficient tie-breaking is what? If P1 is equals to P2, then what will happen? The lower cost firm which is there, it will serve the market first. Okay, so it's a clean case here. That is what? P1 star is equal to C2 and P2 star is equal to C2. Correct? So firm 1 is here, is having the low cost. Okay, at P1 is equal to C2 and it captures the whole market under efficient tie-breaking, which we call, and it earns a positive margin. What we call by positive margin? That is C2 minus C1 greater than 0. But it will deviate up to greater than C2. So it will lose the market to firm 2. That is at C2. So profit is C. Because P1 is equal to C2 like that. So it is deviating down to less than C2. Why? To keep the whole market. But it reduces the margin. Okay, so no quantity gain. Why? Because it has already served the market. So profit falls. So here P1 is equal to C2 is a best response. You will understand it more because we will do the Nash equilibrium part. Then you will understand more after the button. Okay. And form 2 is what? Form 1 I told you that form 2 is a high cost. Okay. Form 2 is a high cost. So here at P2, it is equal to C2. It earns zero profit. It earns zero profit. Okay. So if it sells anything, so it is deviating down to again less than. That means what? It makes negative margin. Okay. So deviating up. Now, if I talk about quantities and profit, so there are linear demand. So demand at price C2 is what? Q of C2. That looks like A minus C2 by B. Quantity of C2. Okay. A, the equation was there, A minus BQ. From there we get. So Q1 star will be A minus C2 by B. And what will be Q2 star? That will be 0. Just like Stackelberg you have done Uno one another. So the profit will be C2 minus C1 and it is A minus C2 by B. Or pi 2 star is equal to 0. This is one. But if on the same way, if I talk about equal split try breaking, this I talked about asymmetric cost. Okay, just try to understand. Slowly, we will, once we go through, we will be able to understand, just like Stackelberg and Kuhn. Because mathematical eco is there, no? So we have to understand this. Under this rule, if I talk about equal split, then it's P1, P2 is equals to C2, C2. Why? Because it is not a pure strategy. Nash equilibrium. Okay, this we will do. Game theory part, some is there, asymmetric information and all those things. So low cost. So it can profitably deviate to P1 is equal to C2 minus. So any tiny greater than 0. Okay. So if I check the deviation, then it goes like for here. Okay, let's check. P1 is equal to P2 is equal to C2. So that is firm 1's profit. Okay, that is firm 1's profit. So here we get for time. So then it will be C2 minus C1. So Q C2 by 2. So that is C2 minus C1. Okay, that is A minus C2 by 2B. This is one. Next we have undercut. How we will go for undercut? This is the way, okay, to do the sums. Minus C1. So it's A minus C2 minus pi B. And if it is pi 1, again undercut, then it is C2 minus C1. The same formula, A minus by B. So that is equals to 2. So here what we see, time is greater than pi 1 time. So conclusion is what? That with equal split time, there is no pure strategy. With equal split time, no pure strategy. Nash equilibrium. Okay. So the limit outcome is what? Just clearly let us write it down. This we will more explore. I will be doing, Nash equilibrium, pure strategy, mixed strategy for game theory. The limit outcome is that firm 1 sets price arbitrarily. Okay, close to C2 from below. Okay, and it captures the whole market. It's just like the reaction function, one we do on the basis of that, like that. We'll do more sums further, we will understand. Prices at C2 and it earns 0. Okay, asymmetric cost and like. This is done. Next, today I will not do more sums for this. I will start with another theory for you. So next theory will be, this was Bertrand, correct? Okay, let's do edge word. Like I have given you that why we do the edge word, correct? Let's start with it. Edge word. So Bertrand has something, and we have to know that why there can be price competition with capacity constraints. So that how came edge word. So what is that? Let's check it out. Edge word goes for, problem with Bertrand was what? There were problem with Bertrand. What was that? There were identical products. Correct. There were identical products, but unlimited capacity. Correct. Unlimited capacity, which I told you that everybody cannot produce everything. Correct. So price undercutting was there. Price undercutting was there, which drive price to marginal cost. Okay, and profit to 0. And profit to 0. Okay, so Edgeworth's idea came in 1897. How? In real markets, each firm can sell only up to a capacity each period. My famous example which I give with my students, that during summer, recently there is a trend of increase in demand for ice cream. It's too much. Means they cannot, cope up with that. Okay. So it's up to the capacity each period. So then it's obvious this single change breaks Bertrand paradox. Bertrand paradox. Okay, and can produce no pure strategy equilibrium. And can produce no pure strategy equilibrium. Okay, and price cycle. What is price cycle? Price war. As the name goes, price cycle means price war. Okay. So what are the assumptions then? Let's go with the assumptions. So the assumption goes for the same. Assumptions. So for Bertrand, we are having the assumptions as, first assumption goes, two firms. So it's homogeneous product. Okay, homogeneous product, constant marginal cost. So it's constant marginal cost. And it is for what? Constant marginal cost for both. So both means what? No fixed cost, okay, needed for the core argument, which we started. Capacity limits, that we have to take, correct, because we have studied that it is required. So each firm I can sell at most, say suppose K units. Okay. So suppose it start with symmetry, like period K1 is equal to K2 is equal to K, like this. Okay. Capacity limits. And price setting will be how? Price setting will be just like Purno we did, simultaneous. Okay. So it is simultaneous. Okay. Always while you're reading also, I will suggest you that you just remind the difference, that this we are doing this. And it helps to remember that what is what. So here, consumers buy first from the lower price seller first. Okay. And if a seller hits the capacity, suppose if a seller hits the capacity, then what will happen? The residual demand goes to the higher price seller. Okay, goes to the higher price seller. Next, perfect information. Perfect information. What do you mean by perfect information? This we did. No buyers, no price, and switch costlessly. Price known by buyer and switch costlessly. Okay. So here, if the low price firm can't serve everyone, think like this. So capacity binds, there is still residual demand left over for the higher price firm. It goes like this. Okay. So how is the mechanism? Like how the price war breathes then, if I talk about? Think of two roles each period. How it goes? So low price roll means undercut. What is undercut? Choose a price. Suppose you are choosing a price which is low enough. Which is low enough. Suppose to fill your own capacity. If you consider the own capacity is K, so it is to fill your own capacity. K, I consider. Okay. So here, if I go, suppose this is my capacity. So if I go any lower above this, what will happen? It will only reduce the margin. Price ceiling, price flooding, again when relate like that, you will understand. So here, but there is a condition, without raising quantity. You are not raising the quantity. So why? Because which I told you, you are already quantity capped. Correct? That condition. This is one thing. This is your low price role. But there is follower role also. You have done already Kuhn Stackelberg. So here also you have a follower role. What is a follower role? High price. So that is low price, that is high price. What is a follower role? Now here we choose the high price. So as we choose the high price at which after the rival sells, this is rival, okay, K units at its lower, this is a margin price. If it sells at the lower, then residual demand is still at least what? I did K capacity for K, we have to remember. So it's K for you. Okay. That way you also sell K with a bigger margin. So firms keep switching role. Okay. Firms keep switching role because each prefers to the undercutter. Obviously, why I will pay more? Why? To ensure filling its own capacity. Okay, at a good margin. Filling its capacity at a good margin. Then what will happen? Then the other for response as follows. Obviously. Then the other form will, if it is capacity and it's undercutting, then the other is just like Kundo. One will go as follower at the best shadowing price. At the best shadowing price. Okay. And so on. Like this, it creates oscillation. Creating oscillations. Okay. Next day, we will continue with the derivation and how it happens. We will do. Okay. Any questions from today's class, or you want any clarification anywhere? Hello? Hello?
No, ma'am.
Yes.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So again, we will continue next. Okay. Thank you.